Now, there's no way in the situation we find ourselves that we're not going to run a deficit budget. Now, you run a deficit budget simply when your income is not enough to cover your expenditure. So you borrow. What is important is what do you do with the money borrowed? Whatever money we borrow today is not going to be used for recurrent expenditure. It's going to be invested in railroads, invested in roads, invested in power, invested in providing infrastructure for agriculture, invested in infrastructure for certain minerals. So what is important is not that you have borrowed, but what you are going to do with the borrowed funds.
So clearly, the president will negotiate borrowing from China.
Of course, yes. We do not make any apology as to that.
How much is the president going to negotiate for?
It will depend on the outcome, but I know that this year we're looking at a deficit about I think about 2 trillion.
Welcome back on the program. President Muhammadu Buhari is currently in China, hoping to seal some huge bilateral agreement between the two countries. Loans for infrastructure and economic development are in consideration. A lot of criticisms have also followed his several trips. What are the possible gains of the several foreign trips of the president? Well, I've been talking with the spokesperson of the House of Representatives, Honorable Abdulrazak Namdaz, and Mr. Obafemi George, a political analyst, have been talking to me. Let me quickly get the thoughts of the spokesperson of the House of Representatives. Talk to us about what the legislature feels about the president's several travels and the possibility of getting loans to service some of the needs or part of the budget, the over 6 trillion budget of the nation. Does the National Assembly think that we are on the right track on the issue of borrowing?
I think, for me, I feel that Buhari is doing his own job. In the last years, we've been almost treated as if we are a pariah nation. We don't, because of the way some of the elections are conducted in Nigeria or the way leaders emerge in Nigeria, we've not been given the opportunity very well. But with the way this present regime came to power, the election that brought them into power, the whole world looked at it as being credible. And therefore, that is why anywhere Buhari goes is received with open arms, and the leaders believe that they cannot do business with him. And apart from that, the mere policies of the fact that they realize that the president is really fighting corruption and is serious about it, and everywhere he goes, these people are sure that they will assist this country because they know that if they assist this country financially, or they at least cooperate in order for us to return back our looted funds, they know that these funds will be used judiciously. And even if it is aid that is being assisted, any assistance that will be given to Nigeria, it will be used judiciously. And I think it is not wrong for Mr. President to at least negotiate to have some kind of loans from China. After all, China is everywhere in the world now, especially in Africa. We are friends with China because wherever you go, you see them doing their best. And they are one of the best superpowers economically. And I think it is nothing wrong for him to try to see how he can negotiate so that we can improve on the infrastructure that we have. They will look at our rural areas, our level of unemployment, and things like that. I think it is it's the right direction.
Okay. Mr. George, talk to us about China. Is it the right step to make? Is it a right country to make an overture to? We've done that to the United States. We've also looked in the direction of some other countries. But this time around, as much as $6 billion that we're looking into getting from China, is it the right thing to do right now?
2 issues. Dealing with China, then the issue of debt. Number one, today, China is the 2nd largest economy in the world. So any developing nation that is serious about growing must do business with China or must take China serious. Even though their growth has slowed down in the past 2 years, but potentially within the next 15, 20 years, they have the opportunity of catching up and overtaking America and becoming the largest economy. We don't want to wait till then before we start doing business with them. This is the right time to start doing serious business with them. That's number one. Now, secondly, on the issue of debt, I don't think we should make too much noise about borrowing. America has the largest economy in the world today. It's also the largest debtor nation in the world. Now, if you look at Nigeria, our GDP, our debt ratio to GDP is just about 13%, which means we still have a huge threshold from which we can borrow. Ghana has 50%, Angola has 70%, and we're just 13%, and yet we have infrastructure deficit. You can't wait until you earn the old money.
And it's really difficult to develop infrastructure without borrowing.
Without borrowing. So he's taking the right step. We have a huge threshold within which we can borrow. What the problem we've had in the past is borrowing and misapplying those funds.
But a lot of people will also argue that we're trying to fight corruption, getting money, retrieving funds. Why can't all of those monies gotten from looted funds be used to divert instead of being going into borrowing?
It's a very good question. You know, when you want to improve our infrastructure, you have short-term goals, you have medium-term goals, and you have long-term goals. Now, for you to finance the infrastructure deficit, you cannot wait for looted funds, because those looted funds have been pursued through the court. So, you have cases that are dragging on. You cannot wait for that. Nigerians cannot wait for that. They want to see Lagos-Calabar Express Road. They want to see Lagos-Calabar rail projects. You cannot wait for looted funds. So what government is doing is to access financing through borrowing.
And you think economically it makes sense?
Like I said, it does make sense, because
do we have the wherewithal, considering our economic woes, to be able to chest and shoulder borrowing at that rate and at that level?
That's what I just gave you a scenario of a GDP to debt ratio. It is just 13%.
And it's all right for us to do so.
And it's all right for us to do so.
Just before we round up, just a last statement from both of you. Honorable Namdas, in closing, talk to us on the final words on this. The expectations of Nigeria, several travels of President Muhammadu Buhari, you and your colleagues, are you giving a nod to that?
Yes, I think we agree that he should make those negotiations. And on the issue of debt, it should be a kind of debt that we can pay in a long-term loans, so that by the time we are paying, we will not feel so much the pain, and then we will keep on doing our developing our infrastructure, bringing jobs, bringing even expatriate knowledge, transfer of technology and things like that. All this should be things that we put together to see how we can
Thank you, Honorable Namdas.
I think it's a good thing.
Thank you, Honorable Namdas. So your final word?
It's a step in the right direction. It's a global economy. You can't wait for your ship to come in. Your president must go out and source for those foreign investment. So I think it's a good thing that he's doing.
Thank you so much, Honorable Abdulrazak Namdas, the spokesperson of the House of Representatives, and Mr. Obafemi George, a political scientist, talking to us on the program. Well, thank you also for being such a great company. And that's our show today. Bye for now.